Tonight, a follow-up in our continuing series, Bush League Justice. Former Alabama Governor Don Siegelman, a Democrat, remains in a federal penitentiary tonight, serving more than 7 years for bribery and conspiracy. But the more we learn, the more it seems like Siegelman was singled out and prosecuted because he was a Democrat, possibly at the request of former presidential advisor Karl Rove. A key witness in the case described corruption involving the former governor and two prominent Alabama Republicans, one currently a federal judge, the other a U.S. senator. Only Siegelman, the Democrat, was investigated and prosecuted. And then, 60 Minutes reporting last night that federal investigators met with this same witness 70 times to try to get his testimony straight. That evidence not provided to the defense. And now more information from a Republican lawyer in Alabama who joins us tonight. Dana Jill Simpson says she heard discussions about how Rove led the effort to bring Siegelman down, and that Rove even asked her to spy on Siegelman and try to catch him cheating on his wife. 52 former state attorneys general, Democrats and Republicans, now crying foul, including Grant Woods, former AG in Arizona, who's backing John McCain for president.
I haven't seen a case with this many red flags on it that pointed towards a real injustice being done.
The group of 52 former AGs wrote to the House Judiciary Committee last year urging them to investigate. Now, when 60 Minutes finally followed up on our story last night, they either had the worst stroke of bad luck in television history or something far more insidious. This story was mysteriously blacked out in a part of Alabama, but only in Alabama, and only this story. Joining us now, attorney Dana Jill Simpson and Doug Jones, a former U.S. attorney who once defended Siegelman. Thanks very much to both of you for coming on. Appreciate it. Mr. Jones, let me start with you. When you were defending him back in 2004, so you were clearly under the impression this case was going away.
Yeah, Don was under indictment in another district, and we met with the prosecutors and talked about it. And they had written, at least it told us, they had written off a number of the things and clearly gave the impression that this case was going south. It's not until after the case in Birmingham was dismissed that they got another one.
Well, let's go through the timeline. November 2002, Siegelman narrowly loses re-election bid for governor. May 2004, he's indicted on corruption charges. This is just as his career is coming back up. October 2004, the charges are dropped. So in 2005, he launches another run for governor, and lo and behold, October 2005, he's indicted on 32 counts, including bribery and conspiracy. Siegelman then loses the Democratic primary and is sentenced to 7 years in prison. It's awfully suspicious, isn't it?
Well, it's very suspicious if we were correct. I'm telling you, this case seemed to be going away, and it was only after that case in Birmingham was dismissed. And we were told there was a meeting in Washington. In the meeting in Washington, they said, give it another look, top to bottom. And they started over. They started over with the case, ramped it up in 2005. That ultimately led to the indictment. All
right. And in Washington, Karl Rove may have been involved. Ms. Simpson, you met with Karl Rove. What did he say to you about Siegelman?
That he wanted me to follow Mr. Siegelman. He suspected that he was cheating on his wife, and he asked me if I would follow him.
And you didn't turn out, you didn't find anything, etc., as you did that, but you also overheard phone calls, did you not? Where you heard top Republicans in Alabama saying something about him having his girls working on it, not about Rove, but about another top Alabama official?
Well, what happened was we had Bill Canary down here in Alabama, basically, who was involved in a phone call with me that I had gotten some photos of another matter, and Bill Canary said that he was going to get his girls to take care of Don Siegelman. He was married to Laura Canary, and the two girls that he was talking about, I had to ask who they were, and he said it was Laura Canary and it was also Alice Martin, who were both United States Attorney Generals.
Let me play a piece of sound from Karl Rove, who's denying that this happened. He's denying that he ever met with you. Here's what he said.
I did not ask her or anyone to dig up dirty photographs on the governor. I've never worked with her. I don't believe I've ever met her. I may have shaken her hand at a fundraiser, but she has never been working in a campaign in Alabama I worked in, and I never asked her to do a darn thing.
What's your response to that?
Well, this is what I'd say. Since Karl Rove has said that, and he feels so good about saying that, what I want him to do is go and swear in front of the United States Congress and swear what he is saying is true.
And as you know, the Alabama Republican Party is now coming after you, saying we can't find one instance of Dana Jill Simpson volunteering or working on behalf of the Alabama Republican Party, nor can we find anyone within the party leadership in Alabama who's ever so much as heard of Dana Jill Simpson.
Well, that is absolutely a lie. That's has been said by Mike Hubbard, who is now the chairman of the Alabama Republican Party. But Mr. Hubbard's going to have a real problem, because he's got to explain how I was talking on the telephone to the party headquarters in 2006 and also talking to the Riley campaign in 2002. And further, he's going to have to also explain how I have records showing I was talking to him in Washington and also in Virginia about the campaign back in 2002.
The notion that Karl Rove even may have been involved in pulling the strings here is an outrage, isn't it?
No, it is, and it needs to be looked at. I mean, obviously, you've got a new Attorney General. Somebody needs to look at this, because what's following this, Dan, that I think is important is the fact, you know, like Nick Bailey, the interview with Bailey in which he is now...
The key witness.
The key witness is now, which is he's seeing his coach. There's an affidavit in a completely different case where the wife of a former Jefferson County Commissioner has said that agents tried to get her husband to make false statements.